Hello and welcome back to Silver, a Silver Screen Up podcast where we watch, discuss, and review sci-fi, cult superhero, and other stereotypically geeky film. I'm your co-host, Casey Jarmes.
And I'm your much less musically talented co-host, Riley Thorpe.
Well, no, let's not call me musically talented. I can't fucking sing even slightly. Although I was in musicals throughout high school, just because it was a small school and I could kind of act, they had no one else to play Fester Adams as choice.
Yeah, well, hey, you still got the part.
Yeah, that was fun. I genuinely do like musicals. Hey, speaking of musicals, seamless segue. We watched a musical this week.
Little Shop of Horrors, based on the play of the same name, which was a reboot of a movie from the 60s. This one came out in 1986, same year as Howard the Duck, which I just think in and of itself says a lot. Not in a bad way, in a very good way. Directed by Frank Oz, the voice of Miss Piggy and Yoda, among other things.
Yeah, lots of things, yeah, he voiced Miss Piggy and Yoda. This is Frank Oz. He was number 2 man at the Jim Henson Company. He directed this and Dark Crystal and all the Muppets movies. Played Cookie Monster and Grover. Give the dude some credit.
I do. He did a movie with Marlon Brando, Edward Norton, and Robert De Niro. And there was a scene in particular where Brando and Frank Oz had a scene together, but Marlon Brando, being the piece of shit he was, he refused to act in the same room as Frank Oz because, quote, every time he spoke, all I heard was that fucking pig.
Yes, that's why Marlon Brando didn't want to do his job. Because of artistic integrity, not because he was famously lazy and never wanted to do jack shit.
And just in general is probably burning in hell right now.
I mean, yeah, but don't say it.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
We're off topic. We 0 to 60 every goddamn episode on getting off topic. We're talking about Little Shop of Horrors. It stars Rick Moranis, Ellen Greene, Vincent Gardenia. It's a musical.
It's a horror comedy.
Yes, this film works at its best when it is just humorously awful.
Yeah.
This film is just spectacular dark comedy, which is probably why it's such a beloved film. And actually, you know what? How are we going to get into this? Because this is a musical, and neither of us know jack shit about music. Are we just going to ignore it? Or try and review how good the songs are? How are we going to do this?
That is a very good question. I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, there's so many musical numbers in this that it's like 13, exactly. I will say, this movie did have a bit of an interesting production history. It had a budget of $25 million, which, from what I've read, was the highest budgeted Warner Brothers Media movie up to that point, which is interesting. It's PG-13, and I get that it's 80s ratings, but I just think it's funny that this, of all things, has a higher rating than Howard the Duck with, however many duck titties were in that movie. At one point, they had Steven Spielberg attached as producer, and Martin Scorsese considered to direct. And then they go from that to Miss Piggy.
Again, don't clown on Frank Oz. This film, it required puppetry, and there is some damn good puppetry in it.
Yes, it's a lot like how Andy Serkis is directing the next Venom film. He is an actor and a director, but as an actor, he predominantly works a lot in motion capture work. And Venom, Let There Be Carnage has a lot of motion capture work. So it makes sense having someone who is experienced in mocap working on a film with a lot of mocap. In the case of this film, it makes sense that a guy who works a lot with puppets makes a movie about a puppet. It does make sense. I'm not giving him shit for it. I just think the novelty is funny. They go from Oscar-winning filmmakers to Yoda. Not saying that's anything bad. The dude is Miss Piggy, second in command at the Jim Henson Company. Yoda, the dude is iconic. I'm not discrediting him whatsoever. I'm just saying, Scorsese to Yoda.
let's just get into it. The film, it opens up with some Star Wars-ass narration about how an innocent thing, like, destroyed the world. And then we get our opening number, which is kind of pointless because it doesn't really say anything. That is sung by our, like, Greek chorus girls who kind of exist. Like, they interact with the cast a few times, but like the Greek chorus, they're mostly just their backup singing. But the point is, about 5 minutes into the film, where nothing really happened. This film, it's good once it gets going. It takes a bit of time to get going.
Yeah.
We are introduced to this flower shop. There's this old grumpy man who owns it. There's Rick Moranis' character, the clerk, who is very much Rick Moranis. And if you've ever seen a movie with Rick Moranis, you understand what I mean when I say that.
Yeah.
And also, there's his very, very attractive co-worker, Audrey. Wow, what a pretty lady. Oh my god, oh god, my ears, they're bleeding. Never, oh god, stop talking.
Yeah, Rick Moranis plays the exact same character in every movie, but, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That shouldn't apply to that, but, you know, yeah, she has this very cartoony, high-pitched voice. It's very annoying. It's very grating. But I think it works for the context of this film. Like, this movie is basically a giant live-action cartoon.
Yeah, this movie, it's wacky, and
yeah.
It works.
Yeah.
Especially one certain character who I can't wait to talk about.
Oh my god, yes. I'm pretty sure I know who you're talking about. Funny thing about it is Ellen Greene, who plays Audrey, she's the only actor in this movie that was also an actor in the stage production.
Oh.
Yeah, and now she's playing Audrey in the film. And she wears very tight, revealing clothing and has a very, very high-pitched, annoying voice. And she's in a very abusive relationship with a man that she refers to as a semi-sadist.
Well, I don't know what that semi is. This is not even BDSM. That, like, generally contains consent. He abuses her because it turns him on.
Exactly. Like, that is full-blown sadism right there.
Yeah.
But just saying. Anyway, we'll get into him a bit later.
So, the gang, they sing about how they live in a rundown neighborhood, which is a pretty good song. Overall, I'm not a music guy. My opinion is kind of meaningless on this, but I like the soundtrack to this.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything that's, like, super outstanding, but overall, it just has these fun da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, like, upbeat songs, and often the lyrics in them are hilariously dark.
Yeah. Like, all the songs are pretty catchy. The one in particular, the three women, Crystal, Renette, and, what's it, Chiffin, I believe?
Yeah. Side note, they're named in the credits. Do they ever say their names in the movie?
I don't
Also, why did they need to
recall.
have different names if they're not going to be named in the movie?
Well, each of them are named after a different musical group from the 60s. African-American female musical group.
That makes sense.
Because this film takes place in the 60s. Because that's when the original movie came out. But yeah, that song they sing at the beginning, Little Shop of Horrors, not gonna lie, I've been singing that one under my breath ever since I watched this movie. It's really catchy. Another song they sing is about how crappy it is to live in Skid Row. Now, what city does this take place in? Is it New York?
I believe it is New York.
Okay.
Although, to be fair, Skid Row's not a place in New York. It's just a general term for rundown areas,
right.
I believe.
Recently, I watched that new Cecil Hotel documentary series on Netflix. You know, the one about that girl, Lisa Lamb, that was in the elevator?
But go on.
She was in the elevator and she was all weird.
I really don't.
Anyway, basically, a lot of people died in this hotel, and it's become famous for that. And the hotel is located in a place called Skid Row. It's a neighborhood in downtown Los Angeles where basically all the felons, people who were released from mental institutions, like the part of society that no one wants to see, you know? They just throw them in this neighborhood and keep them there. And it's just this cesspool of crime. It's basically hell on earth.
Someone should write a cool musical number about it.
Exactly. That was the thing that I said. When they were singing about Skid Row, and I know it takes place in New York, but when they kept saying Skid Row, I was reminded of this one guy in the documentary who was like, yeah, I was driving down Skid Row one time and I saw a homeless guy bite the head off a pigeon.
What the fuck?
Yeah, so that was a little disorienting for me, personally, because my understanding of what California Skid Row is, it's basically hell on earth, and now they're singing a quirky, funny little musical number about it. But it's in New York, so I guess
actually,
it doesn't matter.
I just looked this up. Skid Row is a nickname for the Bowery, that part of New York, like that, what's-his-face, Orpheus is in charge of.
Yeah.
And he has pigeons, so I guess pigeon... We're very off topic.
Yeah.
Point is, run-down neighborhood, they want to get out, but they're stuck. Rick Moranis has been here since he was a child and was adopted by the guy who owns the flower store. Side note, real quick, I'm not going to say he's like a super duper good singer, but Rick Moranis is a surprisingly good singer in this. I wouldn't have thought that he'd be able to sing.
Yeah, I know. I knew going into it that obviously Rick Moranis was in it, and I knew that it was a musical. I didn't know he would sing until it actually started. I'm like, he's not going to win any awards or anything for it, but he brings it as all.
Yeah, he's surprisingly good. But yeah, the store, it has no customers. Probably because it's a flower shop that doesn't have any flowers on display. Like, it just has this empty window with a couple dead plants in it. There are better ways to make your business run. Why do you keep all the flowers in the basement? Whatever.
Yeah, come on, Mr. Mushnick.
They're run down. They're probably gonna close. And Audrey's like, hey! You should show that new plant. I'm not going to do her voice.
Please don't.
Audrey says that Rick Moranis should get out that cool plant that he just got that's really weird. And it's this tiny little Venus flytrap thing that he bought from a strange old Chinese man during an eclipse.
After no one just happened to see a giant green laser shoot down from the sky and land on a plant. Oh yeah, he just turns around and immediately buys that plant.
Yeah, this mysterious plant that appeared out of thin air that's a Venus flytrap that appeared during a solar eclipse. I am sure nothing bad will happen. I don't know why I'm mocking a horror movie character for not being genre savvy, but come on, dude, at least a little caution, especially after it starts asking to eat people.
Yeah, I mean, at least he got it for a bargain. He got it for $1.95.
Yeah, what even is that in real people money?
I don't know.
While he's looking at this plant in the basement, like trying to make it grow better, he pricks his finger and drips some blood on it. And it starts, like, making kissy noises. Congrats, you grew a fleshlight.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's also got teeth, so it might not be the best fleshlight. But you never know, there's a sadist in this movie. A semi-sadist, sorry.
More importantly, there's a masochist.
Oh, yeah. They complete each other, you know what I'm saying?
Apparently not, given how that scene goes.
Well, I don't know. You win some, you lose some. The plant just miraculously starts attracting huge crowds of people. A man, I believe, played by Christopher Guest. Yeah, Christopher Guest.
Yeah, it was Christopher Guest. There are a few scenes in this movie where just for one scene they get like these really good comedy actors, and all of them kill it. It's great.
Christopher Guest from This Is Spinal Tap, The Princess Bride, Night at the Museum 2. I don't know, I'm looking at his IMDb page right now.
And he does a great job as this customer who he just sees this plant. By the way, the Weird Venus flytrap, he names it Audrey too because he has a crush on Audrey. Yeah. He comes in, wow, what a nice plant you have. I would like to purchase 50 roses, please. Actually, I shall purchase 100 roses. I am a robot man and am just weirdly amusing.
Yeah, a lot of people from the streets just start crowding around to see this one plant. And to buy plants. And around that same time, Seymour, played by Moranis, finds out that Audrey 2 is semi-sentient and wants to drink his blood.
He, asks out Audrey, and she, has this fantasy sequence where she sings about how she would love a life with Seymour, where they're married in the suburbs, and it's hilariously mundane, Tupperware parties, frozen TV dinners, watching television. It's dumb, but it's actually kind of sweet.
It is. It is really sweet and very endearing, and it makes you feel a lot for the characters. The problem for me personally is there's an episode of Family Guy that does this exact musical beat for beat, but instead of Seymour and Audrey, it's Chris and Herbert the pervert.
Oh, God.
The pedophile in Family Guy is trying to sleep with Chris, and he's singing this exact song. So point is, it's a very sweet song, but fuck you, Family Guy.
Well, honestly, that's good in general. Oh, there's a scene where, because everyone's just so fucking into this plant. Holy shit, guys, this plant, it is the best. 9 out of 10 plant. Shit, 10 out of 10 plant. Just gotta buy more plants because this plant exists. And probably has weird alien mind control that's making them buy things. But anyway, because he has this cool plant, Seymour is invited on the radio. I don't know who would listen to this radio show where they describe things you can't see, but whatever. And the radio host, it's John Candy, hamming it up.
In hindsight, he's on the poster. I should have known that he was in this movie, but I didn't. I was like, holy shit, that's the late great John Candy. Fuck. He was good. He was just going for it, man. He plays this over-the-top, campy radio show guy. He's just kind of one of those comedians who goes for it, but like, not for me. Like, he's one of that thing, but he does it so well, and he's in a movie about a giant singing plant. I don't know. He was a very memorable cameo, but not the best. Not the best cameo.
Speaking of, like, comedy actors who are great, we finally get introduced to Audrey's horrible, sadistic boyfriend, played by Steve Martin, somehow even more over the top than John Candy. He, like, rides in on a motorcycle and is just this awful dick to Seymour and just so mean to Audrey. And then he sings a song about how he's so sadistic and cruel and gets off on people's pain that he chose the only job that fits. Dentistry.
I'm not joking. I could not stop smiling and laughing every time Steve Martin was on screen in this movie. Holy shit, he killed it.
He's fucking awful in the best way.
Alright, so like the first time he's riding a motorcycle, like you said. Then when he stops the motorcycle, he jumps off it, it continues driving for a few feet, and then stops on its own. When he does like a weird Elvis pose. You know, and then as he's walking into his office, he's punching his secretary, he's ripping children's teeth out.
I think it's the funniest thing. He's just walking out of his office and he deliberately slams someone with a door.
He uses laughing gas, but not on the patient, on himself. Because fuck it, he wants to get high while doing his job.
You haven't anesthetized me. Who gives a shit? There's a point where it films like just him doing dental stuff from inside a guy's mouth, which is kind of gross, but he's just singing about how fucking evil he is, and it's great.
And look, no judging whatever you're into, but like, this guy's evil.
Yes! That's not judging! Like, consent big thing and sadomasochism. Don't torture your child patients for your kinks. That's not a hot take, Riley.
You right.
So, Aubrey 2, our adorable little mind control plant, after being given apparently so much fucking blood considering how big it gets, it wants something more. Also, it can talk now. It's played by Levi Stubbs, who is a famous Motown singer from what I've read, and he has this deep, like, sing-song voice that I love. And the puppetry for Audrey 2 is so good.
Yeah.
The fact that they managed to, I guess lip sync is the word for it. They have this giant puppet Venus flytrap, and they managed to have it sing along to Levi Stubbs' singing and look convincing. This film is a technical marvel.
Yeah, which is funny. I've said many times, came out the same year as Howard the Duck. The reason why I bring it up is because this movie has amazing puppeteering, whereas Howard the Duck had terrible puppeteering, and that was a George Lucas movie. But, you know, whatever. We're not talking about that anymore.
Have we ruined you by making you watch Howard the Duck so now you can only compare films in regards to Howard the Duck?
I was ruined before Howard the Duck, Casey. Howard the Duck made me alive.
But anyway, you got this talking Venus flytrap that wants to eat human flesh. And the girl you're in love with is in an abusive relationship with Steve Martin.
Yeah, they do a really good job of two things in these scenes back to back. Because that was the scene where Seymour meets Oren, Audrey's boyfriend. They do just a really great job of making him this cartoonishly vile and realistically vile guy. I often find that a lot of like comedy movies and shows can often have some of the most despicable villains. Like, I always thought, like, if you watch Parks and Rec, Casey?
Yeah.
Yeah. I always thought the villains in Parks and Rec were, like, some of the most despicable human beings ever.
Oh god, I love Henry Winkler's character in that show. How he's like this evil, megalomaniacal villain who tries to ruin Tom's life. But also, he's a pregnancy doctor. I forget the word for it. So it's like, I will end you. Hangs up phone. So your baby's coming along great. It's just gonna be the most adorable little thing.
Yeah, I often find that when it comes to like comedies, they can portray these people as being like downright evil and despicable, but they can do it in the name of comedy. They're allowed to be cartoonishly bad, and they do just such a great job of making Steve Martin so hateable. And, like you mentioned, they do a great job with the puppeteering of Audrey 2. The way they achieve that, interestingly, is they filmed Audrey 2's puppeteering in slow motion. So the movements are very quick and fluid, but that's because they were filmed at a much slower frame rate.
Also, shout out to the human... That's a weird way to phrase it, but shout out to the human actors because, I mean, if they're filming the puppet in slow motion, that means that the human actors are doing their performances when they're on screen with it also in slow motion.
The largest puppet used for filming of this movie, Audrey 2, guess how many technicians it required to operate?
I mean, it's not a fair thing to answer because I have the Wikipedia page for this open and I can see like 20 names in a row behind Audrey 2 was performed by.
60.
What? 60 people?
Yeah. The largest puppet they used for this movie required 60 technicians to operate.
And honestly, yeah, because like in the climax, spoilers, like Audrey 2 just pops out like 10 more heads, all of which are moving up and down, and they're singing, and their tongues are moving as Audrey 2 is moving. This film's a technical marvel.
And I love when Seymour walks into the store and starts talking to Audrey 2, where he's like, God, I don't understand what Audrey's doing with a guy like that. He's a disgrace to the dental community. I don't know, I'd argue he's a disgrace to a little bit more than just dentistry as an occupation, but that's just me.
Hey, speaking of dentistry, want to talk about the best cameo in this movie?
Please.
So Bill Murray plays a dude who gets root canals because it turns him on.
You realize this is the second movie in what, a month that we've done on this show that I legitimately had no clue Bill Murray was in. This and Space Jam. Like, I remember, like, I was watching it 2 nights ago, and I was just like, that is Bill fucking Murray playing a guy who goes to the dentist a lot because he's so dangerously masochistic. It's funny because, I don't know if you're aware of this, but apparently this movie is the only on-screen collaboration Steve Martin and Bill Murray have. This is the only movie they've done together.
Well, they do bounce off each other really well in the one scene they have where Steve Martin's trying to be sadistic and make Bill Murray miserable, and it doesn't work.
Yeah. I have a couple things to say about this scene. Steve Martin takes Bill Murray back to the operating room where he, like, does all this crazy, horrific shit to his teeth, but Bill Murray's getting off to it. One, Jack Nicholson was in the original film, and he played Bill Murray's part. All the moans and screams that Bill Murray is giving in that scene, that's all improv. All of the tools that Steve Martin's character used, at one point, like, he pulls out his drawer, and there's, like, all this shiny chrome torture equipment. Do you remember that shot?
Yeah.
If you look closely, those tools are the exact same ones that the Penguin pulled out in Batman Returns.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you stole my Jack Nicholson fact. I was gonna be like, you won't believe who played Bill Murray in the original.
Oh, who?
Jack Nicholson!
I had no idea.
Oh, don't patronize me. But yeah, after getting rid of Bill Murray, Seymour goes in to murder Steve Martin's character, Orrin, the evil dentist.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually does it. Like, he brings a gun, but he doesn't kill him. Because right before he does dental surgery on this man, Orrin decides to get really high on laughing gas, and he just ODs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he breaks the knob off and then just gets way too much and just dies. Which is convenient.
Yeah. And it's not just that. He decides to put on this giant, like, fucking Bane mask. It's a face mask, but, like, it has 2 laughing gas canisters attached to tubes that, yeah, you're probably gonna die wearing something like that, dude.
You merely adopted the dentistry. I was born by it, molded by it. I didn't see braces until I was nearly a man. Because Bane.
That's me clapping. I'm clapping.
But yeah! Got a corpse now. Drag it back home. Chop it up with an axe. Feed it to your plant because you're an idiot. Like, seriously. The plant wants human flesh. Kill it. Kill it now.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. Oh, it's gonna help you make money and get the girl. No. You're gonna die. It's gonna eat you. Have you ever seen any movie ever, Rick? Or Seymour, I guess.
Kill it with fire. That's my motto.
Yes, it's super effective. Use the fire. But yeah, he cuts up Orrin with an axe. His boss sees him. Maybe that's gonna come back.
Maybe, I don't know.
Audrey and Seymour, now that Orrin's dead, get together. They have a nice duet called Suddenly Seymour.
That was another really good one.
Yeah. And everything is good now.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. I mean, they still have a giant alien carnivorous plant in their office space that is, demanding human flesh, but
Some things are good now.
After that, Seymour, who apparently has been sleeping in the basement all this time.
Yeah, he lives there.
Yeah, he's confronted by his boss saying that the night before, he witnessed him cutting up Orrin's body. And instead of going to the police right away, his boss decided to wait it out a day and then confront him himself with a gun. And was like, yeah, we're going to the police now. And on their way out, their boss stops him saying, hey, listen, I've decided I'm not going to take you to prison. I'm just going to let you leave and hide out for the next, 20, 30 years while I reap all the rewards of this plant. Because he knows something else is going on with it as well. But while he's talking, Seymour distracts him while Audrey 2 opens its mouth behind the boss and eats Seymour's adopted dad / boss / guy who held a gun to him.
Well, let's be honest. I wouldn't lose too much sleep over killing Steve Martin.
No, not at all.
Let me rephrase that. It's killing Steve Martin's character. Steve Martin, the actor's a pretty cool dude.
Yeah.
But you kind of just killed your father figure to keep him from taking you to the cops / stealing the magic plant for himself. That's kind of shitty, Seymour.
Mm-hmm. What can I say? I mean, there's Seymour, and then there's Walter White, there's just descents into villainy.
This is the best adaptation of Breaking Bad I've ever seen.
It's so good. It came out 20 years before Breaking Bad. It's crazy.
This is the scene where Seymour becomes Heisenberg.
Yeah, he gets a van, gets a sidekick.
Yeah, but no, Seymour decides, yeah, fuck this. That plant's evil. It's just gonna keep eating and killing. He grabs the money he got from all of the fame and TV appearances. He proposes with Audrey and says, hey, let's leave tomorrow and just let the plant starve and not kill anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jim Belushi shows up and says, hey, I want to make a bunch of your plants. No! Okay, bye. I'm gonna go back and, go do Blues Brothers, I guess.
Seymour is confronted by a lot of television people about producing a gardening show because... God damn, this plant is just amazing.
It's a fucking cool plan.
It's so good. Seymour tries skipping town, but before he can, Audrey 2 convinces him to get him some more fresh meat. And while Seymour is doing that, Audrey 2 learns that it can move on its own and apparently dial and talk on the telephone, which it does, and calls Audrey, who has been living across the street with a giant window facing the shop this entire time. She runs over to confront the giant plant that is now talking to her, and she has the most sense of anybody in this movie, surprisingly, because she was like, you know what, I'm gonna get the fuck out of here. I'm gonna leave right now. But nope, he starts eating her. Just before she's eaten alive, Seymour rushes in and saves her, and then they run to the back of the store, and that's when they're confronted by Jim Belushi, who's pitching an idea for them to, like, take seeds from the plant and sell them to the global population so that everybody will have a version of that plant.
Audrey 2 reveals, I'm an alien who wants to destroy the world. That's its plan! Seymour goes in to destroy Audrey 2, and it doesn't really go very well. The plant just fucks with him. Like, it steals its gun and, like, makes him do the cowboy, like, dance, partner, bang, bang, bang thing. It pulls down his pants at one point. It collapses the roof on him, but Seymour thankfully kills it by electrocuting it. And he marries Audrey. And happily ever after, they move to the suburbs. The Greek chorus is singing. Everything is good. And let's just pan down at the ground where I'm sure there is nothing bad.
Uh-oh. Turns out there's a little Audrey 2 sapling just waiting right there in their garden.
Yeah, it's got like a baby bonnet. Stomp on it! Stomp on it! Get the weed killer! Stop it immediately. Stop it.
Kill with
Yes! Destroy
fire.
it! You have to. But yeah, that's how this film ends.
In the theatrical.
In the version we watch. We watch the theatrical cut.
Mm-hmm.
This film, very famously, it has a director's cut with a completely different ending. It uses the ending from the play. The original ending they had for this movie, focus groups hated it. It involves Audrey 2 eating Seymour and Audrey, and then just growing big and destroying the world.
Mm-hmm.
And audiences thought it was too dark, and maybe they're right, because from what I've read, in adapting it, they made Seymour more sympathetic. You'll notice he didn't directly kill Orvin or Mushnick. Both of them were arguably accidents, although he could have probably done a lot more to save them.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, maybe it would have been too dark to end with him being brutally murdered. But on the other hand, that ending, which, by the way, from what I've read, it went on way too long, featured a bunch of really cool puppetry, which is a shame it got cut. I don't know.
I've actually seen clips of what they were doing, and it's crazy to think that, because a lot of money went into filming those scenes. Like, there were giant puppets, giant kaiju, Audrey 2s, rampaging through the city, destroying bridges. It looked really convincing, and it was very well done. It just... Test audiences said, no, we don't like it. And they had to make the dreaded phone call to the team and be like, hey, I know that's some of the greatest work we've done on this movie, and it's a lot of time, money, and effort, but they're cutting it, which sucks. In my opinion, I think this movie would have been much better off with that ending. Because I thought that the ending we got felt a little tacked on, a little rushed, really ambiguous for a movie that's just very in your face and obvious about so much. It ends so ambiguously and rather anticlimactically. I don't know, something big, dramatic, and twisted like that would have served it well. And also, the way I see it, that ending is a tribute to like those horror sci-fi B-movies of the 60s. The ending is just something crazy, apocalyptic. Yeah, it goes on too long. Yeah, it is really cheesy. But at the end of the day, that's what this movie is, you know? I think that this movie would have served better with that ending.
Although, in this film's defense, I do like that we get some follow-up on the suburban life idea, and, you know, ambiguous, shit, it's not over. That isn't necessarily bad.
No, not at all. I'm not saying that this ending is bad, I'm just saying, I think, me personally, I would have gotten a lot more out of this movie had they gone with the originally shot ending. This movie received a Best Original Song Oscar nomination.
Ooh, which one?
Let me look that up.
Mean Green Mother from Outer Space. I looked it up. The villain song from the end. Let's see. It was nominated for visual effects. What beat it? Oh, Aliens.
I mean, it's a pretty stiff competition.
Oh, and it lost to Take My Breath Away from Top Gun?
Is that song? Take my breath away. Is that the song?
I don't know. I've never seen Top Gun.
I mean, it's not a bad song. It's just, I don't know, it's just weird to think of the year Mean Green Mother from Outer Space and Take My Breath Away. That's what it was down to.
So, Riley, on a scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate this movie?
This movie, it's a cult classic for a reason. It's a lot of fun, a lot of passion went into the special effects, the production design, the acting, like literally every aspect of this movie, so much passion and heart went into it. Do I think that it's gonna win Oscars? I mean, we just talked about... It was nominated. I personally, I wouldn't say it's like, in terms of quality, it is very, very good because it's trying to be a tribute to the old B movies of the 60s and 50s. It satirically laughs at the fun and enjoyment you can have of just nostalgic sci-fi movies like that while throwing a lot of really catchy music all throughout it. It's a lot of fun. It's a blast. The acting is great. It's hilarious. It's got incredible comedy, a lot of cameos. Everybody in this movie does a great job. Personally, I don't think it reached the same... Like, I totally understand that this is a cult classic, and I would totally be down to rewatch this movie, but for me, I don't know. If I'm thinking, like, cult classic horror comedies from the 80s, I know that's a very specific genre right there. I don't know if it necessarily, for me, reaches the same heights of, like, I don't know, Beetlejuice. It's not a movie that I personally have a lot of nostalgia for. It's a lot of fun, but I don't know if it reached the heights for me personally where I'm like, dude, I gotta rewatch this, like, today, you know? It's still an incredibly enjoyable movie. Every aspect of the movie is great. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, that tracks. Shit, this movie, it was just a lot of fun. I had a good time watching it. The songs are catchy. The characters are so over the top and ridiculous that you can't help but laugh. The special effects are phenomenal. I'd give it a 9, a high 9. Like, just below 9.5, which is the near perfection. This is a good film.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah, I really had a great time watching this. It was funny, a lot of good music, story was really good. The production design, special effects, as we talked about, just, this movie is great. It's definitely top tier from what we've done on this show.
Yeah, you know what I hope will be great, but I don't think it's going to be great.
The Snyder Cut?
Well, that, but not what I'm talking... Well, actually, kind of what I'm talking about, because we are watching a Zack Snyder Batman and Superman movie, but like the later cut that's kind of better, but also longer, that I have mixed feelings about extended extensions. I'll get into it in the thing. But yeah, next week we're watching Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, the extended edition. That's a very long title.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I don't know. I watched Batman v Superman in theaters when it came out. I did not enjoy it, like, even slightly. I've heard the extended edition is better, but not great still, because it's still the same film. It just actually makes sense because they explain shit. I don't know. We'll watch it next week.
Here's what it's been described to me as. By someone, I've seen the theatrically released cut of it. Didn't like it at all, but I also didn't necessarily hate it. I don't know, we'll get into it. That was years ago, maybe my thoughts will change, but what's been described to me as, to quote my friend, roommate Michael, he said, you know the movie Ted with Seth MacFarlane, Mila Kunis, Mark Wahlberg?
Yeah.
That part where the hookers shit on the floor? Just bear with me.
It's been a while since I've seen it, and I'm pretty sure I've only seen it on, like, TV, so no, I don't remember that, but explain.
Okay, well, there's a part in the movie where they walk in on Ted, and he has like 6 hookers with him, and one of them shit on the floor. The point of what I'm trying to say is what Michael said, to quote him, the extended edition is essentially you learn how the shit got there, but it's still a shit on the floor.
What if it was 4.5 hours long and in black and white?
That'd be a masterpiece. Wait, is 10% of it in slow motion?
Oh god, at least.
That you sold me.
I guess this is become the plot thread? Because we talk about like every goddamn week, and we're just building to it. September, that's when we're reviewing the Snyder Cut. Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, we need to do some prep work to like build to that, and now we're doing Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice Extended Edition, now with more explanations of how that shit got there. Riley, where can they find this show?
You can all find the show on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Silver Age Silver Screen, where we post updates to the show and a lot of other content on there. You can find me on YouTube at Riley Thorpe, where you can check out all of my short films, some of which have gotten accepted into film festivals. Pretty happy about that.
Good for you.
And you can also find me on Instagram and TikTok at Riley James Thorpe.
You can find me on Twitter at Jarmes Casey, JarmesCasey. You can find basically everything I've ever done at caseyjarmes.wordpress.com. You can find the latest indie game I made on there. It's called Dream Jump. I worked as the level designer on it. It's not out yet, but we record way in advance, so it will be out when this is out. Also, I've got like a video essay and like a bunch of things you can read. Check it out. We'll be back next week, assuming we don't get turned on by dentistry.
Hopefully not.
We'll be going back and talking more Zack Snyder superhero movies. Batman kills a lot in this one. Woohoo.
Yeah, we'll have a lot to talk about next week.
As always, I'm Casey Jarmes.
And I'm Riley Thorpe.
And hey, it's just a movie. Don't lose your head about it, especially not to a ladder.